The winter of 1944 didn't wait for anyone. There were no warning lights, no thermostats, no instant comfort. Across Europe, power grids were shattered, coal shipments stopped, and homes and shelters became deadly iceboxes. Survival wasn't about flashy gear or heroics. It was about persistence, resourcefulness, and understanding how to turn simple materials into life-saving warmth. Today, on Warfront Survival, we're going to dive deep into one of the most ingenious, overlooked survival tools of that era: the survival heat candle. But before we do, take a moment to support this channel. Hit that like button, share this video with someone who values practical history. Comment below on the next wartime survival skill you want us to cover, and subscribe to Warfront Survival. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an in-depth reconstruction of historical ingenuity. Now, let's get into the heart of the cold and the device that turned scrap into salvation. Survival during wartime winters wasn't measured by the temperature outside, but by how effectively civilians and soldiers could reclaim warmth from scarce resources. Strategic bombing campaigns deliberately destroyed fuel depots, gasworks, and rail lines. Coal, wood, and oil became tightly rationed commodities, reserved for factories and the front lines. For anyone left behind, hypothermia was as real a threat as the bombs overhead. And yet ordinary people, housewives, factory workers, and even soldiers in frozen foxholes, developed an answer that didn't rely on official supply chains. The survival heat candle was born not in laboratories, but in basements, kitchens, and trenches, perfected by necessity. At first glance, it resembles a simple candle, but its design was far more sophisticated. Ordinary candles waste most of their heat by sending it upward. The wartime heat candle, however, was engineered to radiate warmth laterally, turning a small flame into a significant source of heat. The foundation was a metal container, a tin can, paint tin, or any clean, label-free vessel. This container absorbed heat from the flame and radiated it evenly into the surrounding space, acting as both mould and radiator. Inside, the fuel core was carefully constructed. Corrugated cardboard strips, rolled tightly, or bundles of cotton cloth were densely packed to create a large surface area. This wasn't just a wick, it became fuel itself. Wax, typically paraffin or, in extreme cases, animal fat or leftover candle stubs, was poured over the packed core. Historical records and manuals indicate a consistent wartime ratio, roughly 3 parts wax to 1 part cardboard or cloth. Once lit, the surface burned steadily and evenly, generating hours of radiant heat. Diaries from the period recount families clustering around these cans, placed on bricks or tiles in the centre of small rooms. The ambient temperature wouldn't become warm like a modern living room, but it could be raised enough to prevent water from freezing, dry essential clothing, and stave off the most dangerous effects of the cold. What made these candles truly remarkable was the field expedient amplification method discovered almost universally. People quickly learned that placing 2 or 3 burning cans close together and covering them with an inverted terracotta pot or metal bucket dramatically increased their effectiveness. The cover acted as a heat exchanger, absorbing heat from the flames and radiating it gently over a larger area. This technique transformed a personal candle into a room heater, capable of making basements, kitchens, or even temporary shelters habitable for extended periods. Reconstructing these candles today requires strict attention to safety, just as it did during the war. Ventilation is crucial. Every historical manual and survivor account emphasizes that these devices consume oxygen and can produce carbon monoxide. They were never used in airtight spaces. A slightly drafted room, cracked doors, or a chimney opening ensured that warmth didn't come at the cost of life. Respecting this principle is not an option. It's a direct lesson passed down from those who survived harsh winters with nothing but ingenuity and a tin can. The survival heat candle isn't just a method. It's a window into a mindset. The people of the past were not passive victims of circumstance. They were inventive, resourceful, and collaborative. Each candle burned differently, depending on local materials and the adaptations of the maker. Some added salt to wax to reduce smoke, others mixed pine pitch for longevity. The design spread like a living knowledge network, adapted in basements, kitchens, and trenches across Europe. Recreating these candles today connects us directly to that ethos of adaptive problem-solving, a skill that remains as relevant for modern survivalists as it was for civilians and soldiers facing freezing, wartime conditions. Learning to build and use a survival heat candle is more than a historical experiment. It's a practical skill. It teaches principles of thermal mass, radiant heat, and fuel efficiency, all while honouring the ingenuity of those who lived through the coldest winters in modern memory. By preserving and sharing this knowledge, we keep alive a tangible thread to the past. Every reconstructed candle is not just warmth in a room. It is a lesson in perseverance, resourcefulness, and applied science born of necessity. If this deep dive into wartime survival ingenuity resonates with you, show your support. Like this video, share it with others who value practical history, and comment with the next forgotten skill you want warfront survival to bring back. Subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. By joining our community, you help keep these essential lessons alive. In the cold, history often has the best answer, and together we can make sure it is never forgotten.